Good morning, dear participants. Nice to see all the aliens over there. Happy World Environment Day. Each year we celebrate it on 5th June, just to remind us that we rely on nature for everything we need. This year theme, Time for Nature, focuses on, as we know, nature's role in providing us the essential infrastructure that supports life on Earth and human development. So, to care for humanity, we must care for nature and commit ourselves to green and resilient future. Taking cue from it, International Network of Emerging Library Innovators in LE and Asia Network of Library Innovators Foundation and LIF, with a motto
This
empowering
conference will now be
libraries,
recorded.
librarian and communities, chose first theme of webinar series, Social Action and Sensitization of World Environment Day, to discuss about what action should be taken as how to sensitize on environment through public libraries. In recent past, we have seen globally public libraries are being more inclusive for building stronger communities and neutral spaces for one and all. As a motor of change driving developments, public libraries with their commitment to information provision and access are crucial to the realization of UN agenda for sustainable development. This webinar series is journey of such transformation seen in this region. So to begin with, we will see that 80 public libraries' contribution towards the achievement of sustainable development goals and showcasing that they are relevant to UN 2030 agenda. I welcome you all on this webinar series. Our first webinar on, as I have told you, on the social action and sensitization of World Environment Day. It's great honor to have with us Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy, our keynote speaker, founder of EFI, Environmentalist Foundation of India. He initiated the campaign of cleaning various lakes across India. EFI NGO has many branches in Hyderabad, Delhi, and Coimbatore. Mr. Krishnamurthy will share his view on the topic pandemic and water conservation, a very important and relevant topic. Now over to Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy ji.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining in such big numbers. Happy World Environment Day to all the participants and also for giving us, EFI, this platform. The larger pandemic has actually proved to us that, once again has proved to us that we are nothing in front of nature and we'll have to live in harmony with nature. And what we realized is to even keep the virus at bay, we needed water, right? And as to how many of us have been focusing on water conservation, the importance of water and more. When we were reading these news articles about the rivers getting cleaner, the air getting cleaner, all of us were happy. We were excited that nature was bouncing back and for once we would live in a non-polluting environment. But what we failed to understand is we were the ones who were actually contributing to the pollution during the normal days prior to February of 2020. When Delhi was choking, like even when a lockdown such as this was proposed, and the air quality was extremely bad, almost nobody accepted to it, simply because we couldn't think about how we need to correct our ways to let nature be herself. And that's where the challenge lies for organizations such as ours. At EFI, what we've been doing is we've been adopting lakes and ponds across the country, to be specific in 14 different states in the country. And we've been trying to clean these lakes and ponds. I'll send links to our work for you to see as to how bad some water bodies are. They're extremely contaminated, polluted, solid waste ranging from domestic to industrial gets dumped into these water bodies. There's a lot of sewage problems associated with every water body. which gives way to new sort of infections, and which also gives way to a lot of economic loss in that particular local neighborhood sector. But all of this is being pushed to the back burner because we have water at the end of an open tap, and we don't care where that water comes from. As long as there is water in my tank and there's water at the end of my tap, I really don't give a damn about the river, the lake, or the pond in my city, which is actually extremely unfortunate, which is what has led to all these infections. Now we're talking about the coronavirus now, but look at all the waterborne diseases that India gets affected by. And when you look at the statistics, all the waterborne diseases put together can cause 3 times the damage that coronavirus is currently causing. And because this virus is human to human transmittable, we're so scared, terrified, and because it's a global pandemic, we're all locking ourselves indoors. Are we staying indoors because we're so disciplined that we want to listen to the government, or are we staying indoors because we're selfish that we don't want to get infected? And even if we are selfish and we don't want to get infected, we're staying indoors. I'm happy about that, because at least we're not spreading the infection to a lot more people. Why aren't we giving the same importance to waterborne infections? And that has to come from us, ranging from dysentery to diarrhea, which actually kills people, cholera to malaria to dengue and more. All of this collectively has such a large health impact in India that cleaning and protecting our water bodies should technically be our top priority. Otherwise, look at the number of days in a year which we're just losing to health issues such as this, thanks to pollution and more, which is also because of us. So the larger question when we do statistical modeling is to find out how many days in a year does India lose to infections and diseases, and what is India's true potential? Why is India not able to achieve its true potential? Because we are not healthy citizens, ranging from diabetes to obesity and high blood pressure, which is prevalent amongst almost close to 42% of this country's population. Then we have to battle out with regards to all these other infections related to water and more. Just look at the number of days and look at the number of man hours that India loses in terms of its true potential. That's what we need to think about. Are we truly making a living, or are we just surviving and staying in a place of habitat? These are things which we are trying to take to the larger public. When you look at every lake or a pond, if we asked each of you what is your dream for that particular lake, you'll want to see a fish, frog, snake, bird, and all those animals live in that water body. You'll want to go drink water from that water body. You'll want to swim in that water body. But when was all this last possible in our lifetime? No, it's not been, at least in the last 2-3 decades. It's next to impossible for us to even think about freshwater bodies in India to be used as a freshwater source. It's only a place where we've been dumping religious waste, we've been dumping domestic waste, we've been dumping industrial waste. And it's so difficult to convince people that we have to respect and protect these water bodies. And when are we going to take on all of this? Only if we are able to convince smaller sections such as this group, which is available right now, then spread the message. Even today, the bigger challenge is the medical waste. All the non-degradable, one-time use and throw medical waste that is coming out of a lot of hospitals, ranging from a nose mask to a PPE. That is an environmental hazard, but we can't make way without that. We need those equipments. Can we look at a responsible, planet-friendly waste management for those medical use and throw items? It could be probably available in a few select cities. What about all of India? Nose masks, I'm sure you've already seen. Nose masks are lying all over the place in most of our cities. We're just using and throwing them. And it is ending up in our water bodies. Everything that we throw somewhere ends up in a water body, and that in return becomes somebody else's garbage. Simple. Take, for example, the story of the Bellandur and the Vartur lakes of Bangalore city. I'm sure most of you know these lakes already. These are the lakes which usually catch on fire, or these are the lakes which froth up and send a lot of foam. And if you're wondering where the water from Bellandur and Vartur goes to, it goes through North Tamil Nadu and it reaches Pondicherry. So this dirty water, this extremely contaminated dirty water, runs through most of North Tamil Nadu to reach Pondicherry and then merges with the ocean. Along the path of this river, there are so many mango orchards. There are so many vegetable and fruit gardens. where people use this contaminated water to grow their vegetables, fruits, and flowers and more. Probably sitting somewhere in Guwahati or somewhere in Lucknow, you and I are buying that mango from Tamil Nadu, which was cultivated using the contaminated water from Bangalore's lakes. So if we are polluting water, when if we are assuming that we are polluting water which is far away, let's understand that we live in a land of karma. It definitely comes back to us. It comes back to us in the form of all the produce that comes from different places with all the loaded contaminants and the nutrients, and it is causing, just do a small little map in your own personal life. How many people in your personal life do you know who has a certain kidney ailment? Have we ever wondered why there are so many people with kidney related problems? How many people do you know who are stepping out there to get dialysis done frequently? And isn't it only because of water? How many people actually have hair loss? And if you're thinking, is hair loss even a problem? Ask people who are losing hair, they will tell you why it's a problem. And that's also because of water. And we are trying to see somehow associating all of these individual issues with water. Unless and until we treat our water with respect, unless and until we care for our water bodies, we will not be able to live a healthy life. Today it's corona, tomorrow it could be something else. We don't know. How prepared are we? The final point I wish to make is, if there was no electricity, would any one of us here know how to get purified drinking water? Would we know where to find our drinking water? Do we have the sensitization where our water comes from? If some farmer in some distant land is not growing our food, would we be able to grow our own food? These are skill sets which we need to largely talk about and inculcate in the younger generation and motivate them to become self-sustainable citizens, because that's where we are failing. Today, we are still walking, talking consumers. We are not living human beings, and that has to change. Understand, until that mindset changes, not this pandemic, anything which comes in the future, we will not be able to battle it out, because we'll be a very dependent population. We'll only be looking out to others, either the government to support or some international body to support, unless and until we are self-reliant citizens, unless and until we are a self-reliant society, battling pandemics such as this and ensuring that natural calamities don't strike time and again, like what happened in Uttarakhand, what happened in Kerala, what happened in Chennai. Climate change is in our backyards. We are worried about this one virus. There are so many of nature's issues we have to concentrate on, and we don't have to get so negative about it. There is a lot of field work that's happening, from restoring water bodies in Gujarat, Rajasthan, to Tamil Nadu, to Madhya Pradesh. There's a lot of effort. As a group, my humble request to each of you would be, you're all coming together for a cause. Take water as your cause and tell us how you wish to volunteer with us. And we'll have to sensitize a lot of people that unless and until there's fresh, clean water, there is no healthy living. And unless and until we don't focus on those points, we are going to constantly lose out several days, productive days in a year, to battling viruses and bacteria, and which is not going to make our life any more interesting. Thank you for patiently listening. I sincerely hope each of you will think about volunteering for India and her water to keep out every infection at bay. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy. We'll take a question answer session after the other speakers also share their views. So you are very rightly, highlighted all the serious issues related to the water conservation that we are so unaware about, that we don't take it seriously as we are taking coronavirus these days. And you have rightly, pointed out that waterborne diseases are more dangerous, as we are not aware that in daily uses how much water we waste and how we pollute this important, which is life-giving, if we are existing on this planet just because of the water. Yes, truly, karma will pay us back the way we do the treat water. And question answers we will take later on. Now our next eminent speaker is librarian by profession, Dr. Rangashri Kishore, and it's an honor to introduce her. She was a founding director of Ashoka University Library prior to joining as a Dean of Library Service at Keria University. Welcome you, ma'am. She is librarian by profession, but she is also a mental health worker by vocation. She has co-founded 3 halfway homes in India. She has received several awards. There is a long list, long list to mention about awards. This year, she is receiving Bharat Vikas Award and Rex Karmveer Award. Congratulations, ma'am. Ma'am, she's a member of National Reading Mission, Cambridge University Press South Asia Library Advisory Board. She has been a part of global mental health team of the Empower Project. It's great honor to have you in this webinar series. And to begin with, ma'am, her topic is connecting communities through library, and we are all library professional and very close to this topic. Now, Dr. Rangashri Kishore, she will share her views on this topic.
Happy Environmental Day to all, and welcome to all the library and other professionals who are here to listen to me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. As a librarian, we have to discourage people from speaking, but as a mental health worker, we have to break the silence. So I wear these two hats where, I switch on from mental health to library profession, but I have merged the two in a way that, you can use your library science skills to bring some social changes in the aspects of health, not just physical health, but also mental health, how information can be provided and given support to the community at large. You see, one of the things that that occurred to me as a librarian was when I was the director of the library services at Ashoka University. I found the university was located in a very isolated campus, so surrounded by many villages. And there was no point in, just keeping all the books and e-resources, everything related to, just to the university students. But what I felt was we should reach out to the community outside the university and help them to come into our library and use our resources. So at first I started with the Children's Day program, where we invited all the children, because the community was working in all aspects within the university campus. They were housekeeping staff, there were all security guards, their children, they were all invited to a Children's Day program within the library. And we opened those doors, our doors for them, and we showcased educational cartoons and storytelling sessions, which helped these children to, enjoy that period. And that became a success. And based on that success, I thought just one day is not enough. We need to have it continuously on a sustainable basis. So I started a mobile library project. I did a program. I did send out a proposal to Small Steps Foundation, who helped us get this project going on with $20,000 we received from them. And we bought a mobile library and fitted it with a 52-inch TV. And the television, we used to take the mobile library to the communities or do open library programs, because these communities had largely agricultural populations and their kids who were taken to the farm because they needed help. The families needed help in the farming, and hardly they would go attend school. And even if they attended schools, larger number of kids were going only because of the midday meal. So here I was, because the Sonipat region, that region had good roads, because of the tractors to go. So this mobile library project helped us to reach out to conduct open library programs wherever we stationed it. Kids would come from the farms, listen to the educational cartoons that we displayed, heard stories, that were narrated in their regional language by our student volunteers and staff. And this helped them to, get a little bit of basic literacy And this also helped us to convey certain messages, health-related messages, or read out from their own cultural stories. So this helped us to conduct this, and this has gone on to become one of the reach the library map of the world today in the IFLAS map of the world under the Sustainable Development Goal stories. This is one of the first and only story as of now to be covered from India. So that gives us more, the reason it came there is that 70% of the children, 70% of the children have gone back to school, to the government schools. There were 7 government schools that we tapped upon, and our mobile library project used to reach there and conduct these sessions. And that helped, getting back children to dropouts to school. This is why this has gone on to become a Sustainable Development Goals story to be featured by IFLA. And taking from there, I also connected with Toy Bank in Delhi, New Delhi. Toy banks help in giving to the community to set up toy libraries. And this helped, having successfully started the mobile library project, I thought establishing toy libraries is also one good initiative for children who would otherwise not receive basic literacy. And the schools, government schools had very limited teachers and teaching programs. So this toy library helped children come back to school because they had joyful learning experiences. We trained the school teachers how to use toys to convey certain difficult concepts in sciences, and through story methodology using toys and puppets and things like that. And our student volunteers were very happy to come together. And one of our very key staff, Anil Kumar, who was very talented, he was a library assistant with Ashoka University Library, but he managed to get trained in storytelling, and we used his services for conducting storytelling programs. So here I have a brief presentation for you all to showcase what we did. This is, as I said in the beginning, I was a part of this Empower project for mental health. And for the global mental health, I was, as a founder of Richmond Fellowship Society, invited one among the 4 people to be selected to conduct to prepare a presentation presentation that helped in understanding mental health using creative models. So I used poster model, and this poster was done through a research methodology, and this was displayed in the Global Mental Health Meet held in Cape Town in the year 2010, if I remember correctly. These are the posters, and we used research methodology where we researched with the help of questionnaires that were circulated to all people who were patients themselves and people who were professionals who were psychiatrists and clinical psychologists, and getting inputs from them. And I would like to say that one of the patients with whom we interacted, he brought up a message for us to convey to the public, and we used it here in this poster. He said that we in schools are getting teased by people, so we don't want to be teased. So please put up those messages out there for people to tell that we are not behaving in a particular manner because we want to be doing that deliberately. It is because we are sick, and this is because we are mentally ill, and does not mean that we are all the time 365 days abnormal. So these are some messages that we promoted throughout 5 states in India, and through the government of India that we got some grant. As you can see the photos, we went to each and every district and connected to the community and conducted free mental health camps, distributed pamphlets and posters, and also helped them to understand, because as librarians, we have the skills to promote information in all formats, reaching out to the communities at large. And this is the community library that we went out. Initially, we used to take it in the car, a laptop, and go and conduct these programs, storytelling sessions, open library programs. But we later on got our mobile library, which we used for the purpose. Yeah, see, this is the mobile library. And once the mobile library service was inaugurated, we were able to reach out to several villages, not just one, but several villages, and nearly 10,000 children were touched upon through this initiative. So we conducted reading programs and all that, and this is where I said this is the link to the mobile library project initiative, which is featured in the IFLA library map of the world. One can take a note of it and maybe go through it. And as I said, the impact is 70% increase in school attendance in comparison to previous years. Our student volunteers used to conduct Nukkad Natak, and this was also done. We sensitized the community outside to seek help if they find anyone with symptoms of depression, anxiety, or domestic violence. We said our students were conducting these kind of Nukkad Nataks in the streets of these surrounding villages. As you can see, the public is standing there, and here is the link to the report of the toy bank, which supported us with for setting up Khel Kahani. We called it Khel Kahani. And the same initiative is being carried out in Kriya University also, where I'm presently working as Dean of Libraries. Here also I'm engaging student volunteers, and we have the support of the Andhra Pradesh's Sri Cities Business Center, who helped us to reach out to these 14 village schools, where we are setting up these toy libraries. And due to this COVID, we are all stuck here. But very soon, once the university opens, we will be inaugurating these toy libraries there also. So these are some of the initiatives that we have. As a librarian, I feel every librarian can play a significant role in reaching out to the community and bringing more support for the people who have no other means of learning. So yeah, this has been my background and my experience, which I wanted to share, and I hope you have had some questions to ask if you wish.
Like Dr. Rangashri Kishore, she has, in her presentation, pointed out that understanding community need is very much important just to serve them, to reach out. So she has been initiated a new ideas with the community after understanding the community needs. We'll take the questions afterwards. Our third eminent speaker of the webinar is Dr. Partha Sarathi Das, and currently he is serving as Assistant Library and Information Officer at our National Library, Kolkata. He has more than 13 years professional experience. He is a member of various associations related to library development. He has published 33 publications, which includes journal articles, conference papers, and book chapters. He has received many awards. He is a dedicated professional, my dear friends, and Inalian. Welcome you on the behalf of all Inalians, Dr. Partha. His topic is South Asia Public Libraries as a Lifelong Learning Center and Alignment with UN SDG 2030. Over to Partha.
So the topic I will be speaking on South Asia Public Libraries as lifelong learning centers and alignment with UN SDGs, though it is a big presentation, and it is a part of my lecture in Calcutta University. So I will try to make it short. So I will expect it to cover this concept, modern conceptions of a public library, what is a community, what is a community engagement, transformation stories. So I will share some of the international and Indian case studies, United Nations goals, and mapping of public library services with SDGs, and of course the NLE. So if you see the modern concept of public library as given by Rawson and Scott Hansen in 2000. So this is the third space which is called which is the public library. Public library is also considered as a place of identity construction. Actually, it is a sociological theory. According to Axel Honneth, German sociologist, he has recognized public library can help in the identity building construction. How it will be possible through different services the public libraries are providing, like empowerment services, women empowerment services, young adult services, some of the young adult services, career guidance cells. So these are actually the process by which we can identify and construct the identity of an individual. Again, there is a concept of third generation public libraries. It is a public library building which has, so this is a new concept of actually public library is being compared with malls, retail economy. So it is, suppose when we are entering into a mall or a big shopping complex, we see there is a lot of merchandising techniques are there. So it is called an experience economy. So public libraries are actually building their infrastructure, building their services so that we can experience something there. So again, there is a concept of public libraries as developers of social capital. Social capital are actually the partnerships with voluntary associations, informal meeting places for people, and provider for universal services to public. These are actually identified as a social capital for public libraries. So what is a community? Basically, community is a group which has a common objective, common purpose, common agenda, like compatibility of interests, shared values or purposes, shared social aims, shared story of experiences. That group of people who have these four issues, they can be called as a community. So community of practice again is identified as a group of people who share a common concern, a set of problems or interests. They are called as community of practice. Community engagement is a strategic plan for the public libraries by which we can engage our different communities, like the children community, young adult community, senior citizens, women's. So we have to identify the community and design the services and engage them. So how the public library is being transformed? The process is known by different terms like reinventing, revamping, re-engineering, and modernization. These are the key terms by which we can identify the transformation process in public libraries. So these are some of the examples of post-transformation by which the different public libraries across the globe has transformed itself. It has providing space, materials, technology for collaboration. It is giving access to 3D printers, exclusive area for teenagers, community collaboration space, even lending out musical instruments, offer of space for meeting classes, night classes. These are some of the examples by which the public libraries are giving new services. So again, there are some basic new services like basic IT training, job-related services, again, helping children, helping to buy goods online. So some of the international stories, I will not elaborate these stories. These are all of the transformation stories from the United States. So I will just skip it out. So because it is a long presentation, I can't cover within 15 minutes. So I will just skip and directly go to the SDGs. So these are some of the examples of different parts of the world like a library for everyone. This is a story from Myanmar, reading together in Myanmar. So again, there is a story from Philippines. You see how libraries are training unemployed women in Philippines. Again, veterinarian visits in Nepal. These are one of the activities of public libraries. Like e-government in Ukraine, you see. Parents and children recording local stories in Zambia. So these are computer lessons in Bhutan. So these are some of the examples of Philippines, South Africa, digital literacy course in library in Philippines. So government services desk in Georgia, farmer assistance in Romania. Okay, now I will cover the sustainable development goals. As you know, the sustainable development goals is a agenda for the United States, and it has given about 169 targets, a transition from the Millennium Development Goals. And by achieving the agenda, we will actually, it is an agenda by which we can include all the persons in the society in all aspects, the environment, education, all these aspects will be covered in the sustainable development goals. So these are the basic 17 goals you might have known. The goal number 1 is the end poverty in all its forms anywhere. Goal number 2 is the end hunger, achieve food security. Goal number 3, ensure healthy lives. Goal number 4 is ensure inclusive and equitable education. This is very important for the public libraries. Goal number 5, achieve gender equality. 8, I am not going through it. Like this, there are 17 goals of the United Nations. So now I will discuss how you can map these goals into the different services of the public libraries. Suppose in goal number 1, the goal is end poverty in all its forms anywhere. Like career guidance program, that is maximum of the public libraries are running this service. It is satisfying the goal number 1. Goal number 2, there are different services you can design, like ICT-based programs, agriculture, animal husbandry, health sanitation. These are also satisfy the goal number 2. Like the services of health and nutritional programs for toddlers, children, these are the different services which can satisfy goal number 3. So goal number 4 is very important for public libraries, which include ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning. I think mobile library services, storytelling sessions, book reading, promotion programs, all these services which I have listed is actually satisfying the goal number 4. Again, health awareness programs for the women, maternal health of expectant mothers, legal literacy, these actually conforms or satisfy the goal number 5 to achieve gender equality. Again, the goal number 6 to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, because now we are in the world which is actually devastated by corona pandemic. Like there are in West Bengal, you see there is a major cyclone. So there are a lot of trees, about 1 crore trees have been destroyed. So how libraries can be a part to remake or reinvent the environment. So libraries has a big role to play to supply environment related information to the public and the scientists. So goal number 8, to promote sustained, ensured and sustainable economic growth, which actually if you include basic computer training programs, ICT trainings, that includes the goal number 8. Goal number 9 is actually climate literacy, because climate literacy is that kind of literacy which I think that each of the citizens should have, how to keep the environment clean, how to keep the environment, how to protect the environment. So this is one of the agenda in goal number 9. Goal number 10, that reduce the inequality within and among the countries. Libraries without borders provide access to information and resources in refugee camp. So goal number 11 makes cities and human settlements like solid and liquid waste management related information that can satisfy goal number 11. Goal number 12, to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. I can give an example like Biodiversity Heritage Library. It is a big project by Symposium Institution And it is a library, it's a digitized library that contains biodiversity related information. So it is actually conforming to the role of goal number 12. So in goal number 14, that the conserve and sustainable use of ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Again, there is a concept of water literacy, resource management, conservation. So these kind of services, these kinds of literacy programs can satisfy goal number 14. Goal number 15, there is a very popular public library services called Plant Clinic Program, which is actually satisfying the goal number 15, that is protect, to restore and promote the sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. So goal number 16 is promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development in the line of the World Bank's group strategy to end the extreme poverty by 2030. The World Bank Group Library provides World Bank Group Library, they have started services, which is actually conforming to goal number 16. And strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership, that is goal number 17, is satisfied by the National Science Library, which is doing this kind of programs or services. So in India, if you say how far the SDGs are implemented in India, it is very poor, because neither the public library is depicted in the document which is kept in Niti Aayog, that is the Planning Commission, earlier Planning Commission side. They are actually designing and planning the entire SDGs. That they actually map the different ministry and the departments under Government of India with the Sustainable Development Goals. But I have not found a single word for the library or the public library is being projected in the Sustainable Development Goals in case of India, because this is very important. If you fix the roles of different ministries of the SDGs, actually on the basis of that, the entire budgetary allocation of the Government of India depends on the how the ministry or how the department is actually satisfying the Sustainable Development Goals. So we have to, all the public librarians of India should take a proactive step so that these sustainable goals can be projected or can be included in the Niti Aayog's document, through which the sustainable goals can be satisfied by the library. So this message can be given, or this message should be given to Niti Aayog or the Planning Commission, that how public libraries are playing a major goal in India, not only in India, all over the world, to satisfy the United SDGs. So these are some of the case studies. Although these case studies are very big, very long, I will not go through all the case studies. I will just so I have taken one of the model library, District Central Library, Tiruchirappalli. So I have found all the basic services which actually satisfy the UN SDG goals are being satisfied by this library. So I am just going through different services they are providing. You can now map all these services to the UN SDGs. So you can relate whatever I have discussed earlier. You can relate these services to the United SDGs. So storytelling, you'll find a parenting with the children, art from the West. So drawing class for the children. So student competition, drawing competition, spell bee competition. See how the children community, how the school community or the children community, young people are, how they are involved in the library. Program for girls, program for youth. So these are all competitive exam services in rural library, monthly motivational programs, literary programs, yoga class, program for senior citizens, Braille library. See, this is a service provided by the library in the central jail. So these are the services you see what probably all the community is being covered by these services. This is a folk dance, again medical camp for the libraries. It is again readers forum. So some of the inspiring stories from it has this story is being provided one of my friend from Pune, that is Pune Marathi Granthalaya. Actually, it is a story of a girl who has actually taken some knowledge of fast aid by reading books. How this story has been inspiring to all the children. So again, I am giving an example of branch library of Tamil Nadu, Tirupati. See, this is an example of library advocacy. How this library, one of my innovator friend is there, Benik Pendian, how he has collected money, about 15 lakhs money he's collected from different CSR, through different CSR, different private companies. So these are some of the services conducted by that library. So this is a service for the LGBTs. So this is again a service from Chandigarh Library. It is known as the family reading time, when all the family along with the children is invited to the library for reading books. So now I will come to the NLE program, how it has changed, how this program has changed, or how this program has changed the innovators to adopt the sustainable development goals. So as you know, this NLE program this is the NLE program of India and South Asia. See, NLE program is basically for the public librarians to build leadership skills. So how to bring change through leadership. So this is now, there are 3 cohorts are there. So just I am showing you how these libraries are actually satisfying the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So you see there are different services from two Indian states, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. 6 innovators outreach to 2,713 farmers, like gardening methods or audio agro advisories, crop cultivation methods. These are the services actually providing the goal number 2, that is zero hunger. Again, in good health, there are many services being adopted by our innovators in their different libraries, in their respective libraries, like mental health camps, yoga. These are the services that have been provided to satisfy goal number 3. So again, goal number 4, see reading mission, which is involving about 11 Indian states and by 33 innovators. So goal number 5, the gender equality, tailoring course awareness program of women, like this. 7, goal number 7, you see libraries provide public access to information on water, energy uses, sanitation. Like in many libraries, you will find they have installed the solar panels. So actually it is encouraging the renewable energy. So this is goal number 8. Yes, this is reaching the unreached transgender jail, inmate, juvenile homes, sex workers. So like Dr. Kaur has given an example of smart public library in Amritsar city in sustainable cities. Actually, it is conforming to goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. So goal number 12, 13, 14, 15, all these services you will find adopted by different libraries across the country. So transformation, this is a new kind of community hub. So whatever we have discussed so far, if I summarize, what are the new trends? This is a community engagement, partnership and collaboration, innovation and change. So improved perceptions of libraries, significant increase in library usage, more visits to libraries, improved confidence in the libraries and feeling good about the library. So public libraries in India, if you see, then this is a bit of neglected and indifferent stakeholders from the government bodies. We need more support. Silent citizens. So everything is possible if we have attitude to work. So thank you. I think I have maintained the time.
Thank you, Dr. Partha. Such a vast topic you have covered very, very, very well, and you have given concepts defined it so well: community engagement, partnership, and how can a public library achieve these SDG goals? How we can map the library services with the sustainable development goals, and giving up all the stories of change in such a short time, case studies. I think you have done a marvelous job within such a less span of time. And now I would request Mr. Janki to take up the questions from the two speakers, ask them the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Prabjot. Now the question session. If any questions to ask Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy, you can just chat to this forum. And then Rangashri and Partha is available here. You can please go ahead for the questions. Please make it one by one, and others are mute the speaker.
Good morning, this is Sairam. I want to talk with Ms. Kishore, Rangashri Kishore. Ma'am, good morning, and you have reached almost all the topics in the library science, and it's very glad to hear that you have won so many awards and all the things. And my special congratulations to you. And I like the toy libraries very much that you served. And my question is, in this corona pandemic situation, how we have to approach the children in the schools?
You see, in the pandemic situation, everybody is under, house arrest. Kind of, we are not able to go out, whether it is children or whether it is. So if you want to reach schools, I mean, you can talk to either schools, principals and teachers. There are school library associations. You can write to them. They will connect you to the school librarians who are in touch with the school children and parents through the online medium, through the webinars like we are doing right now. And there are storytelling sessions happening, and there are links to many e-resources that are being shared. I think that is the way right now things are going on. But once these doors open, probably it will be more, like the traditional method of teaching orally. And that has more impact actually than the online methodology that I think. For online, the schools, especially rural schools, have no means to get the children to the school to showcase these activities. And even the university right now is all shut down. So there are no student volunteers who can go and reach out to them. But there are school library associations that are emerging and have done quite a bit of work in the online sphere. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kishore. Thank you, Kishore. Next question, please.
Hello, Janaki. This is Mamun. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kishore ma'am, for your nice presentation. I'm hearing all of your presentation and your documents. I want to know from you that you have mentioned different type of services from library, like mobile library, toy library. So I think
Yes.
it's a financial matter, as I'm working in a government library. So I have limited budget from the government. So if I plan to do something that you have mentioned, like mobile library, toy library, etc. So how could I manage financial matters to run these services?
See, for the toy library, we were supported by Toy Bank. All you have to do is reach out to them, and we had signed an MOU with them. Toy Bank helps in giving you toys, and they send it across to your schools or regions. All you have to do is talk to them and get the toys delivered to your place. If you identify the schools that are ready to accommodate toys and help you set up a resource center with toys. That is one thing. And then for mobile library, I sourced it from a unit in US who were looking for supporting a project, educational project. We wrote a proposal to them and seeking, you have to have accurate data and you have to give a proper proposal on how you are going to carry out these activities in a structured way, and they have a format. They'll share it with you, and you will have to write to these source these people who will fund it.
One of the questions asked is, can you show the number of mobile libraries that are in operations?
Hello, this
Yes.
is Khandakar Asif Mehta from Bangladesh.
Yes.
I'm working in the Department of Public Libraries. And I have put the question, how many mobile libraries do you have? Okay.
We just have one in our that I started, but there are there is in Delhi, there are about 5 by the, supported by Airport Authority of India. They gave buses which were fitted with books, shelves, and television, and this is being carried out, taken out to the community. Like that, in Tamil Nadu also certain government has facilitated. In Andhra Pradesh also there are certain.
We still have 78 mobile libraries, mobile library bus, I think, and but we need more. And we're also looking for some boat libraries in our planning. I think your experiences will be very helpful for us. And can we think about a common blog or platform that people reason and share such informations?
Sure. I will ask Ashley to help out in connecting us. Janaki Raman can help in connecting me. You have my email ID and you can write to me, and we'll see how. I have friends in Independent University, Bangladesh, Dhaka, and they're also doing quite a lot of work. I think I can connect to that as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you to INELI, because our INELians in Bangladesh are doing very well, and we get some help from them, and they share a lot of their experiences in India. And I am welcoming all of you to Bangladesh to visit our libraries, to visit our offices. Thanks to all, and thanks for the webinar.
Thank you,
Sumit. Thank you, Sumit, for your question.
Can I ask the questions to Mrs. Kishore?
Yeah, please.
Kishore, ma'am?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. But so many, thank you. You said is so many dropout children is, they're rejoining, continuing their education. So here is most of the librarians are doing the community need-based services. So they are doing well, but they are, how they can assess the impact level, what is the change in the community, what is the monitoring mechanism you are following, the consistency of they are going to children in the schools.
What we did was, as a part of the funding that was provided by the Small Steps Foundation, they had themselves sent us a format for evaluation. So the evaluation format had, questionnaires that were circulated to all the teachers and the school principals and the community outside, where our student volunteers went, and whenever we took the mobile library out, we were taking down the notes. Children interviewing the people there and getting the reports. And once we also again annually we compiled everything, and finally we went and enforced and took notes on how many children are coming back. We looked at their records, attendance records, number of activities that were carried out, and how many children came to attend those programs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam, I am from Ramnath District Branch Librarian, Risalat Ali. Can I ask question?
Yeah, sure. Go
Can I
ahead,
ask question, ma'am?
Mr. Ali. Yeah, Mr. Ali, go ahead. Ask the question.
Okay. I am from Public Librarian Branch, Government Public Librarian. What is the sustainable development need a feature? How to develop the sustainable development in the public libraries, ma'am?
Dr. Partha, this question is for you.
See, sustainable development goal, if you want to know more, if you have to go to, I am giving you a website, ifla.org, that is International Federation of Library Institutions. You can go to the site of IFLA and learn more about sustainable development goals. These are actually, there are 17 sustainable development goals which can be fulfilled through your services. So I have given all the examples, what are the services and how these services are fulfilling the goals. So if you take a note of that services and you can introduce in your library, you can ultimately fulfilling the goals. Okay.
Thank you.
Saraswati ma'am, please go ahead.
My question is to Partha Sarthi sir. Good afternoon, sir. I am from Delhi Public Library. I want to know that how public library can fulfill these SDGs because we are running on grant, and as well there is a barrier from high authorities also. So my question is, how can we fulfill these SDG programs?
Yes, so very good question. So I have make a study how, as I am from National Library, I have made a study how our services, what are the services we are providing in national libraries, how it is fulfilling the SDGs. And the paper has been published in one of the international conference in Bangalore last year. So basically, I know Delhi Public Library is giving a lot of services. Like you are giving, you are organizing children related services. So you have to fit the services into the goals. So it's very easy. It's very easy. It is not at all hard. You are actually, all of you actually you are doing the work. So just you have to map the services. You have to just map the services to the goals. Okay. Like you have organized any environment related programs. So it is satisfying goal number 6 or 7. So you are organizing different literacy programs. So it is again fulfill the goal number 4. So like this, you have to relate the services you are already providing to the goals. And if you are not doing in some goals, so you can introduce. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, if any question is not there, can I move forward? Okay. Thank you. We are going to do the concluding remarks, and I'm really very delighted to deliver the concluding remarks on the first webinar series on the ANLIF. That is Asia Network for Library Innovators Foundation.
Thank you, sir, madam.
That promoting sustainable solution to the communities through this webinar. I would like to thank Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy for accepting the speech for his busy schedule. Thank you, sir. Your thought-provoking talk on lakes, restoration, water security, and etc. We, our library professionals, will assure you that how to save water bodies awareness program through our libraries. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Rangashri Kishore for a talk about connecting communities through libraries, Empower project on mental health through libraries, and the mobile library services to around 10,000 children in Ashoka Library Services System. And also I would like to thank Dr. Parthasarathy Das to talk about the South Asia Public Library as Learning Library Center with the alignment of SDG 2030 and how to mapping the public library services and also how to transform the public library services through SDG. Thank you, Dr. Parthasarathy Das. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Prabjot, Chief Librarian, Punjab State Library, and for moderating this seminar, and also Innali team from MSSRF for the webinar. Without their support, it's not possible for the first series of the ANLIF seminar. Thank you so much for everyone to participate in this seminar. Thank you so much.
Innali and ANLIF and all those 80 innovators, those who are redefining the role of public library, building them in an innovative way and helping out the communities to build up as a strong community. I would like to thank you all. Thank you very much.
Please, we have sent a feedback form to all. Please submit that so that you can get a e-certificate instantly. And also tune with us. Our Twitter handle it at the ANLIF. Please tune with us. We have a more number of webinars in the near future. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.